Welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Hello. We forgot, Sarah, we forgot something.
What?
Obviously, Vinny. Vinny's not here. But since Vinny is now in Arizona, we need the cactus. We forgot the prop. Did we clean the cactus? Is the cactus ready? Vinny, our lovely, lovely CHGO White Sox beat writer, is currently in Arizona. He has made it safe. Him and Ryan Herrera are ready to give you guys content from Arizona. Vinny is now spiritually joining us on the set, so thank you very much to Sarah for running and getting that. Our producer today is Sarah.
Hi.
Hello. And you can hang out by hitting the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. We're getting closer and closer to 50,000 subscribers. We just had a huge week down in, I was going to say Arizona, but it's Las Vegas, and that's in Nevada. Yep. Our great content over at CHGO Bears, but the whole ALLCITY team. I mean, they had Shedeur Sanders bashing Sean Lewis on the DNVR one. Even Prime gave them some time as well. That rhymed. So there we go.
You're a poet. Don't even know it.
Thank you very much, Herb. But yeah, we are going to bring you some great spring training content. So no Vinny today, as he was in a travel day. We'll be hearing from Vinny tomorrow, though. But on today's show, we got 30 minutes of Chris Getz. Herb, I don't know if you've heard this. I know you guys haven't heard this. Not a great day for our guy, Chris.
Why is that?
I think he had a weird day. Well, I think the people got to hear it to hear why, and then we'll talk about it. Okay. But we'll play that for you, and then we'll react to it. And then we got a Mailbag Monday. Plus, guy right here, not that guy, not 7, but 24. 24 has signed a new deal. So Yasmani Grandal will be joining a new team. Herb and I will talk about his new team and why we're kind of surprised that this guy got a deal already, because we talked about this on Friday, and we didn't think he'd be getting a deal.
No.
And now he's got a deal. So there we go. So, again, hit us up with any comments. Let us know what you think about this Chris Getz video and audio as we play it for you. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button. Make sure you are subscribing. So, Sarah, are we good on the Chris Getz video? We're good on the Chris Getz video. Herb, are you feeling good?
I cannot wait to hear from Chris Getz.
All right, here's Chris Getz.
Since this is your first spring training as general manager, what is going to be your message to the team, and what do you want them to try to succeed during this spring training camp?
For one is first, this is my first spring training as general manager. I think overall I'm looking forward to getting the season going. And this is the first opportunity to whether it be our front office hires, our employees throughout the organization, blending in with the group that's already there. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes to our roster, but to have everyone in the same building for the first time is exciting for me, and I know others. We feel like we're stepping in the right direction, and look forward to now getting to work, so to speak, with everyone together. Now, the message to the players and the team, quite honestly, I think we have a lot of players that have a fair amount to prove, not to the organization, but to themselves. The expectations in terms of how you go about your business, the style of play in which we play, and how we're going to work together as an organization, to move forward and be successful. So the message will be very clear. They'll learn for what I am about. A lot of them already know that, and they need to go out there and play and show, the White Sox organization, the fans in baseball, what they're capable of doing.
Hey, Chris, you told us back here in Arizona at the beginning of November you didn't like this roster, and you made a number of changes. I mean, a lot of changes, and a lot of guys left too, obviously. When we last talked to you, you said, you liked what you've done the offseason. Do you feel like you hit the target of what you had in mind when you first took over this job back in season last year, and what you wanted to do leading up into spring training 24?
Yeah, I definitely feel like we've improved the roster. I know that comment about not liking this team, that was certainly something that was deeper in regards to the players playing together as a team, and anyone that's been around to sports certainly can connect with that. And I anticipate this group blending in together, working together towards what it takes to be successful in a major league club. Do I think we are as an organization where we need to be a championship caliber club. We're not there yet. Now, like I said earlier, we do have a lot of players that have a lot to prove to themselves. And you go across the roster and you look at Benintendi, Louis Robert, Andrew Vaughn, Paul DeYoung, Nicky Lopez, Yohan Moncada. We've got the catchers in Maldonado and Stassi, players that really for their careers, I think they've got a going into this spring training. I feel like they are highly motivated to prove not only that they're major league caliber players, but they want to come together. They know that they have to come together for us to be successful.
You have a lot of new players, obviously, together, and I know you've talked about a lot of good quality clubhouse guys. How tough is it to meld all those new players with the existing core that you have? And obviously, it just begins. It's begun already, but it really begins in earnest on Wednesday. Yeah,
it's the beauty of spring training, right? I mean, you've got a month and a half, if not longer, to spend time and get to know one another. We've got some players on the club that have been very proactive this offseason and reaching out, whether it be phone conversations, in-person meetings. We've got a lot of players that live in Arizona or have traveled early to Arizona. It's about spending time with one another. Now the true test will be when the competition begins. Good, bad, or indifferent. And, that's the real character revealer of an individual and a team, is when adversity hits or even success hits, and how you react and operate, with those types of feelings. So, it'll take a little bit of time, but we're days away from the doorstep of spring training. Look forward to seeing how it plays out.
Chris, you said that this team's not championship caliber quite yet, but as you start this season, what kind of goals do you have, and kind of how do you expect to define success along the way, all the way through kind of the later months of the season? Yeah,
I mean, I want us to play cleaner, winning type baseball. Okay, I've never been part of a team, or I don't think anyone within our roster, steps into the clubhouse and says, "Hey, we want X amount of wins this year." It starts with what the day in front of you, right? And when the season begins, opening day hits, you want to win that game. And then you just want to continue to play quality baseball, and then the wins start stacking up. I'm well aware of what the projections are. Our goal is to go beyond what the projections are. And I think that most teams could say something like that, or believe in something like that. So, what it takes? It takes a team to come together. We've got individuals that I think are selfless players, still have something to prove to themselves, like I said. We certainly don't want to play games in which, we beat ourselves. These guys are very capable players that if they play to their potential, they can beat anyone on any given night.
You've talked a lot this offseason about wanting to play a different style than we've seen this team play in the last couple of years. What does that style look like? What are you hopeful to see on a nightly basis?
Well, fundamentally, players up the middle on a team are vital, whether it be the catching position, shortstop, second, and center field. And, for me, I look for players that have high baseball IQ, can direct traffic in the middle of the diamond. On the catching position, they build a solid rapport with our pitching staff, and they educate our pitchers, and they can make adjustments within a game, post-game, pre-game. We've got a lot of pitchers that are still developing in their careers, or once again have something to prove. And I feel like we've got two additional coaches with the catchers that we brought in with Max Stassi and Maldonado. But going back to the defense across the diamond, you got Paul DeYoung and Nicky Lopez that are known for at the very least catching the baseball and making tremendous plays up the middle. We got Louis Robert, who's one of the best defenders in the game. And they all have offensive potential. They've shown it in the major leagues, but bare minimum, they're going to catch the baseball. They're going to be in the right position, make sound decisions. So that in itself, I think, is going to position us much better. In the offseason, when I began conversations with potential free agents and agents, of pitchers, there was hesitancy to come to the White Sox because of the defense. So that led me to really do be proactive in improving that. And that's why we we executed the Aaron Bummer trade. Aaron Bummer is a very good pitcher, and I expect him to do well with Atlanta. But to be able to acquire, whether it be Nicky Lopez and then some of these other players that can provide starting pitching innings for us and make us a more well-rounded club, then that made sense to us. That's why we signed Paul DeYoung. And then if you look at the recent trade with Dominic Fletcher, a guy that can play center field, but also on the wings and has a chance to be above average there. So, I want it to be an attractive place for pitchers to want to pitch here. We've got some players that have a lot to prove this year, like I've said earlier, and now to feel like we've got a solid foundation. I think we're better positioned for success, and look forward to getting things rolling here shortly.
Hey, Chris. I mean, obviously, when you were putting this team together and making changes, like you've talked about just now, defense, it looked like character was kind of a big thing for you. A lot of these guys have really good reputations in baseball. And I hate to ask, are you worried question on February 12th, but the offense, some of these guys don't have, maybe the best results lately offensively, to put it nicely. Are you worried at all about that? Like where you're going to get runs from? Do you have projections that maybe show better than the projections we're seeing from some of the, websites?
Well, you look at Yohan Moncada for one. When healthy, when he's at his best, it can be a very productive offensive player, and he's a switch hitter. He's had he's in a very good position based on his offseason work. Once again, he is a player that has a lot to prove. I know Benintendi, who had a fine year last year, still wanted to do better than what he performed at last year. I know that he's committed to finding ways to improve. Louis Robert is. If he does what he did last year, but he's got potential to do even more. We've got Dominic Fletcher that I think, or just the right field position, whether it be Deloach, Gavin Sheets, Fletcher, and we've got Kevin Pillar that's in camp. We feel like right field was an area in which, certainly needed to take a jump forward. We've got personnel that, if they play to their capabilities, can do that. Andrew Vaughn. Yeah, he's a guy that he expects to take a step forward. Paul DeYoung has been productive at the major league level. Does he need to make adjustments in his offensive game? Absolutely. Nicky Lopez, he needs to do the same thing. A couple of years ago, he was close to a 300 hitter, if not over 300. He brings that to the table. Maldonado, he's a guy that he's got some sock in his bat. And then Max Stassi, he's got something to prove. He, because of his last year and what he had to deal with from a personal standpoint, now to overcome that. We're going to have to create runs. We're putting a lot on Marcus Thames and our hitting coaches to get the most out of these guys. But most importantly, I think these players are ready to go. They know the adjustments they need to make. And it's going to be a battle out there, and we're going to push these guys, and we're going to do everything we can to score runs.
One follow-up real quick. I mean, with Moncada, the first guy you mentioned, Moncada, I mean, listen, we've all been doing this a while. We've heard the, best shape of my life. This guy's got something to prove. How much can you really count on Moncada going into this season?
Well, to be honest with you, we have to, right? I mean, he's going to be our third baseman this year. And, he's determined to go out there and have a solid year for us. And obviously things have to play out. We've got to get through spring training and the early parts of the season. And Eloy Jimenez is someone else that offensively, we've seen what the potential that he has. And when he's on the field, he's a very productive hitter. So last year, he was on, other than the appendectomy, he had taken care of a lot of the issues he's had in the past from a health standpoint. So I feel like he's well positioned to be productive on a regular basis as well. So now the team does need to come together. They need to go out there and perform. There's no secret about that. But that's kind of the beauty of baseball. And there is plenty of optimism going around with our club.
Just building off that question with the offense, the last couple of years, in terms of, swinging out of the zone, walk rate, ground ball rate, it seems like the team was leaving a lot of, untapped talent on the table in terms of just the approach. Do you see, and how do you communicate that message with the plate approach? Some of that can be personnel, an opportunity to kind of play up beyond what maybe we're seeing on paper by just, being a team that's more patient and works counts and elevates the ball.
Yeah, I mean, those are certainly, result based when you're not chasing or, looking to make more contact. Is it approach? Is it mechanics? More times than not, it's both of those things. But it comes down to each individual and building a relationship with Marcus and Mike Tozar and everyone involved on the offensive side. Do they have the right information? Are they preparing, against a pitcher that night? And are their bodies in position to make good decisions? Those really are, it sounds probably easier said than done. However, that's what it takes to be successful at the major league level. Guys have shown the ability to do that. Now they just need to go out there and go out there and produce and do that on a consistent basis.
Do you see, in talking about trying to improve both the defense of this team and its reputation to the league, do you, in past instances, there's been, trying to squeeze guys into spots, to get their bat in the lineup? Andrew Vaughn in the outfield, he put a lot of work to provide that option to you, but maybe not the ideal setup for him. Do you see the threshold for what you guys are willing to take at a defensive position rising? It could be a factor in first guys who are developing later on of whether you think they can stick at this high level position. Do you see that rising going forward for the standards you have for this team?
Yeah, we're prioritizing defense. There obviously there's so many things that can pop up throughout a season, whether it be injuries and certain guys not being available on certain days. And you want everyone to be as well-rounded as possible to get their bat in the lineup. However, it shouldn't come at the cost of our defense. To say that it's going to be a higher priority than in the past, it's tough to say, other than the fact that I do feel like, whether it be on the defensive side, our depth is much greater with players that can defend at least at the average level, but hopefully beyond.
Hey, Chris, when we talked to Pedro recently, he mentioned around this time last year, he had maybe 6 or 7 options for starters. And this coming into this spring, he's many more. When you take a look at the potential rotation, just what sort of stands out to you? Well,
I was talking to Ethan Katz the other day, and obviously he's had a lot of conversations with our pitchers in preparation for spring training to begin. And, we certainly have more starting depth than we've had in the past. Now, has it fully taken shape on who are going to be our starters this year out of the gate? It hasn't. We're not quite there yet. But to have as many options as we do have, I think can be a competitive advantage for us. Where Michael Kopech, seeing where he's at from a starting standpoint, Garrett Crochet is stretching out, feels really good. I look forward to seeing how that plays out.
And I meant to ask during the last Zoom about John Brebbia. Just what is he bringing to the mix, and just how can he help out the bullpen along with the recent addition with Tim Hill?
Yeah, both Brebbia and Hill are veterans and have had success. Feel very fortunate to get both of them. Brebbia has closed out games. He's been in middle relief. He's been an opener before. He had a lat injury last year that we believe is behind him. So to be able to get, we hope, a full season of production from him is exciting. And then Tim Hill, who was battling a finger issue last year with San Diego. So to have him fully healthy, ready to compete, and use him properly, I think is going to be a boost for us with our bullpen. So we've got a lot of quality arms beyond those two. And I think whether it be our starters or bullpen, time will tell on what roles, but I think there's some versatility and some potential within the group.
Chris, 2 quick questions here. First off, just going back to the players that have something to prove to themselves, is there maybe a shorter shelf life for those guys this year if you're not getting the results that you expect from them as the season goes along, Memorial Day, June, or whatever, and you have guys you would like to see behind them, since in the past maybe contract status or just where they, kind of were marked for expectations in the organization? Has that changed a little bit heading into this season, knowing what the expectations that you have?
It's tough to say. I certainly don't want to operate with any sort of threatening message to any player, other than the fact that every year is a little bit different. In this case, with this stage of the career of some of these guys, they need to prove something, and more than anything, it's to themselves, because these guys want to have longstanding careers in Major League Baseball. But in all reality, the window isn't as large as some players think that it is. And we've got Colson Montgomery working his way through the minor leagues. We've got Brian Ramos. We've got Edgar Caro. We've got some position players that are ready to take the next step. And this is professional sports. This is Major League Baseball. And players are coming from all different angles, and whether it be our minor leagues or other clubs, or they're playing for another contract. Those are all incentives that are potentially at play here. So to say that someone needs to produce in X amount of time, I think is unfair to say. And I don't know how much truth there really is to that, other than the fact that it's a competitive environment. And if we feel like there's an upgrade of some sort, I think we owe it to the organization to move forward with something like that.
And then in regards to Pedro, at the end of last year, he admitted to kind of there were two paths for the how he was going to lead last year, and that he deferred to kind of the players and the guys in the clubhouse, and said that was the wrong path. What kind of expectations do you have for Pedro now? With kind of a new voice with you in this role, prioritizing defense. Do you expect something different from Pedro, or do you expect the guy that was hired for this job getting more of the resources for the team he wants?
Well, we're talking about year two for a manager, so I think he's certainly more comfortable. He should be more comfortable in the manager role. Certainly more comfortable with the organization now that he knows more individuals, knows more players or staff. Or front office members. We've made some tweaks to the supporting staff and some of our coaches, whether it be Drew Butera, Grady Sizemore, Jason Bourgeois, and Matt Wise. So, we've got some different voices. Is it all on Pedro's shoulders? Of course not. It's on my shoulders. It's on all of our coaches coming together. Everyone, when it comes to leadership, it starts with yourself. And the goal here is to empower everyone. Pedro understands that. I understand that. Our coaching staff understands that, and our players will as well. So, Pedro and I are we've had a lot of conversations this offseason. He is hungry, and I look forward to supporting him in any way that he needs.
Hey, Chris, I just want to follow up a little bit on Garrett Crochet, trying to transition him to be a starter. Do you envision him having starter innings in spring training? Are you going to start him as a reliever and then eventually move him into the rotation? If you can kind of disclose how the general plan would work for Garrett, considering he hasn't had the innings over the last few years with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, all offseason has been in preparation for him to be a starter and, primarily be healthy. So we want to appropriately attack this starter's plan, so to speak. Now, how he'll be deployed, it'll be 1 inning, then 2 innings, then 3 innings. And we'll kind of go from there. Does that mean that, he comes out of the pen to begin with and gets his innings? Spring training's unique. It's a little bit different than in season. You've got backfield games, obviously opportunities to start, a game, so to speak. So more than anything, it's keeping him healthy and then stretching him out appropriately and then deploying him how we see fit, both for Garrett and the organization.
So there is a scenario where if things are going well in spring training for him physically and results based, he could potentially break camp in the rotation.
If we feel like it's best for Garrett and us, yeah, that's certainly under consideration.
Chris, you seem to be talking generally positively about everybody on your roster. From a health standpoint, do you have any injury updates that are you're coming into camp with some health concerns with anybody?
Knock on wood, we're in a pretty good place from a health standpoint. Obviously, as things pick up, you start challenging the body a little bit. And I anticipate some changes to that. But as it stands today, we're in a very healthy position. No pun intended.
Suppose I can force an injury update on you. Do you see Davis Martin's rehab allowing him to, be someone who's in the mix at some point in the first half, or just what kind of timeline is he on right now?
Yeah, I mean, you hate to put an exact return date, but unsurprisingly, Davis has really kicked butt in his rehab, and we feel like he's a starter in the big leagues. He's proven to show starting ability. So, at some point this summer, I anticipate him being an active player for our major league club. But time will tell. He's still got a couple of months to go, but so far he's doing very well.
With Kopech, seeing where he's at starting this spring, he worked a little bit of the bullpen at the end of last year. If depending on what your starter mix is depending on where he's at, is that a feasible option, to start the season, or something you're considering at some point this year, depending on how he's going?
Yeah, the goal is for him to be a starter. He's very comfortable doing that. The beauty of Michael is he's got the ability to pitch in multiple roles. Not everyone has that floor, so to speak. So, but right now he's had a very smooth offseason, smoother than he's had in the past. And so he's going to be right on time to be able to be a starter on opening day or come the beginning of the season. So, do we have the ability to make adjustments? Of course we do. And does he need to go out there and continue to have this smooth offseason he's had? Yes. But Michael's in a good frame of mind. Physically, he's in a good place. So he's off to a nice start.
With Crochet, it's been tough in past years to turn away from how useful he could immediately be to your bullpen. Is starter only kind of the approach with him this year? Like, even if it's, if he has to develop a whole year in AAA or has to work at starting, is it kind of that's what the project is for him at this point? Or would he possibly be a major league bullpen piece if the need is there?
Yeah, well, going back to when we began the last offseason, Garrett and I had a conversation, and it was very clear that he was excited to get a look as a starter. And when you've got a player that has that type of conviction, I think you're doing the player a disservice to ignore that. So I said, listen, I want you to have an off season in preparation to be a starter. We're going to go about this appropriately from a health standpoint, because he was coming off Tommy John last year. He had a shoulder hiccup. So I wanted to be very safe in how we went about it. Now, very similar to Michael Kopech, he's had success in the bullpen before. Now, his mind and his body is prepared to be a starting pitcher at this point. Obviously, he needs to be built up further, and he hasn't had too many starter innings under his belt. That's even going back to college. So, but he's a special arm. He's shown 3 pitches in the past. So he's got the starter kit to be a starting pitcher. Now it's just a matter of going out there and executing and figure out how to navigate games. But once again, look forward to seeing how it plays out. If we need to make adjustments along the way, we'll do that.
Hey, Chris, one more before I ask you a question on Garrett. So would you say there is a chance he could open the season at AAA Charlotte as part of this rotation, or do you value him too much? I guess just kind of reinforcing what James just said as part of your major league roster because of what he brings.
Yeah, I anticipate him, being on our major league club, but, I also don't want to close the door on what's best for Garrett Crochet.
What are you looking for from Colson, this spring? Colson had a good year last year after he got healthy. He was in camp last year, but was hurt for almost the entirety. I think he had like 5 plate appearances. He's getting close. He showed that last year. What are you looking for out of him during spring training?
When it comes to Colson, I don't think there's a player in perhaps minor league baseball that doesn't have the arrow pointed in the direction that he has at the current moment. So just to continue that momentum, players like that let you know when they're ready to be at the major league level. I've certainly spoken about it at length in the past about what he brings to the table. He's very mature in the box, very under control. Obviously, he's got power potential. He understands what it takes to be successful at the major league level, even though he doesn't have too much baseball experience, which is amazing to say, but that just speaks to the talent that he has. He's continued to improve defensively. He showed very well at the Arizona Fall League. So we're excited, and we're very fortunate to have Colson. And when it comes to spring training, certainly we want to get off to a good start, keep him on the field, and set him up for success this year.
on Colson and really any number of guys who, maybe don't have any big league experience quite yet, but specifically on Colson, are they being given shots this spring to compete for major league roster spots? I know Pedro is excited about having like you said, a competition, an environment of competition. Is Colson and Nastrini and Leisure, are these guys who could break camp with the team if they show well enough?
Yeah, all of these possibilities are on the table. I think it's unhealthy to cap any player. They all need to come in here with a mindset to compete and put themselves in position for success. And I know that there's an obsession with being on an opening day roster. I understand that, but really it's about the full season. And if that means that someone breaks in and the second game of the season or the mid-season or in September, so be it. It's about you competing against the game more than anything, or it's not necessarily competing for roster spots. So these guys are still developing as players, and I want them to be the best players that they're capable of being, and it's our job as a support staff to put them in position to do so.
Hey, Chris, I have one more question about the rotation. Is the mindset to potentially have Dylan ready there to take the ball on opening day?
Yeah, at this point, Dylan Cease, expect him to be our opening day starter. He's had an awesome offseason. I've been in contact with him regularly, and I know his name has been, out there publicly with potential trades. And unsurprisingly, it hasn't affected him. He's a guy that just, he's so professional and just focused on the task at hand. So I look forward to seeing him in a couple days. I certainly feel like he's well positioned to have an excellent year.
Do you have designs at this point about whether Colson has anything left to prove in Birmingham, or you have him ticketed to Charlotte, or if he does start the season in the minors, or do you kind of assess that over the course of the spring?
Yeah, we'll assess it. There's a handful of variables that go into that decision. More than anything, I want him to have a smooth spring training and feel good about where his body is at, and certainly mentally in a good spot to go out there and be successful. And in my mind, it doesn't really matter where he starts.
Tim Anderson a couple of years ago, it seemed like he kind of got this, because of where the team was at, this longer window to kind of develop defensively at shortstop than maybe the typical player, or if he came up in a contention season, would have had. Do you see where the team is at that option being ready to how to approach Colson at short, or with the emphasis you're having on defense, do you want him to have less to iron out when he reaches in the majors possibly, or how do you view the development of it short, or how much, appetite for watching him come out struggle or develop in real time in the majors do you have in this situation?
Well, I mean, just like any player, you want them to be, in a position to have success at the major league level in all facets. And certainly we're prioritizing defense. So, when it comes to his defensive acumen, it is high. Now, there's some nuances to the position that need to be, continued to be worked on and groomed. And I think he's shown, he showed great strides in the Arizona Fall League and towards the end of the season there in Birmingham. So, once again, he's had a really good offseason. Look forward to seeing his work, whether it be in the backfields or B games or A games, and we'll make that decision on where he's at defensively, and then we'll apply that to where he starts.
Hey, Chris, one off the board, non-40-man topic, Noah Schultz. I think a lot of people are focused on him because this is a guy who's been kind of written up and talked up as, top of the rotation guy. Where does he stand, health-wise and just development-wise as he goes into spring training, whenever the minor league camp starts?
Yeah, it's about getting the innings and the workload for Noah Schultz, and certainly health is going to be a huge component of that. He's had a very smooth offseason as well, and he continues to build out his frame and challenge his body to be able to respond on a daily basis as a starting pitcher. But the weapons are there, so it's just a matter of the workload. I think he, in terms of performance last year, from a pitching standpoint, when he was out there, he's one of the top pitchers in baseball. Now it's just a matter of accumulating the innings for him so we can continue to stretch him out and see what he's capable of doing on a regular basis.
That's White Sox General Manager Chris Getz. We are going to take a quick break, and then Herb and I will react to what Chris had to say. We want to let you know about our friends over at CIRCA Sportsbook. The NFL season might be over, but that just means what? We're 44 days away from MLB getting started. We got NBA going on. We got NHL going on. There's still a ton to bet on with the world's largest sportsbook, CIRCA Sportsbook. They got tight money line splits, a low hold model. Games will strive to be a -110 split on the CIRCA Sports menu, unlike other sportsbooks, which may use a -115 or -120 split, and they encourage bettors to download and explore all sports betting apps available so you can compare the lines from each sportsbook. And again, they are the world's largest sportsbook, and they strive to have the best line for you to bet on. And you will see, if you're comparing lines, that most of, if not all the time, that CIRCA will have the best line for you to bet on. And CIRCA does not limit players based on their winnings. Every player has the same winnings, unlike other books who do limit winning players. So go try out the world's largest sportsbook, CIRCA Sportsbook. Their customer service is unbeaten. There are real people behind the CIRCA Sports brain who resolve issues in timely fashion, unlike other books who use chatbots, and you'll have to be waiting there for 2, 3, 4 hours to get an actual person to answer a question. And all aspects of the app are being run by the same team that runs the main CIRCA Sportsbook at CIRCA Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. So download the CIRCA Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app. That's circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for CIRCA events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you are someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537. Text GMB to 833-234. Visit areyourreallywinning.com. Herb.
Yeah, ready?
588-2300 Empire today. Michael's saying that we're the A team of podcasting. I think that we're also the A team of singing. But like the actual, right? That A team. I'm clearly the Mr. T of the A team of singing, and you're the white guy.
There's 3 of them.
Oh. Well, who's the
Hannibal, the main guy?
Is it that guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Face, I believe, is another one, and then I forgot the third one.
I never watched it. Well, we want to let you know about Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get to shop. You get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So of course they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, and speed. So competitors advertise low quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. They keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need and not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in, and Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year, so you don't have to. You can just find the perfect styles, and you can look through their perfect styles with their virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can also receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply, and you could see empiretoday.com/CHGO for all of the details. Again, all listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Make sure you do follow at Vinny Duber because he is in Arizona. He was tweeting out the meeting today at like 9:30, which is just kind of cruel from Chris Getz. And I don't know if maybe it was just because it was in the morning that, Chris sounded a little bit off. Vinny, I got to be honest, he sounded a little sleepy, when he was asking his questions. But it didn't seem like Chris had a lot of true thoughts, right? It was a lot of if. It was a lot of hopes.
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot of if this guy does that. There was some honesty that I did like. I liked when he brought up when, he was talking to free agents. They said they didn't like the defense, so he went out and addressed that, and we've seen that. We've noted that throughout the offense. When he was asked about Yohan Moncada by, I think, Ryan McGuffrey, he said, to be honest, we have to. When he said, do you have to rely on Moncada and Moncada being healthy? Hey, you know what? You do have to. You're paying him X amount of money. It's just kind of clear that you have to hope on Yohan Moncada. We're not against that because it just kind of seems like reality when you pay a guy that much money. And then also I thought there was a good answer when, I think it was McGuffey's next question. It was the shelf life on players. It doesn't seem, again, like they are putting true expectations on this year. He said that they are looking to play a more winning type of baseball.
Yep.
Not trying to win.
Nope.
They're not trying to exceed a certain amount of wins. And I know people were like, well, what if Grifol loses? Grifol the clown, I think was the exact comment, loses 10 more games again, then he'll definitely be fired. No. I mean, all they do is, I think at least for 2024, is not rock the boat. Let's see what these guys can do. Maybe something happens. Maybe something doesn't. It's just a baseball season. And I think they're kind of looking more towards 2025 than it is 2024.
I think so too, and I think that for the brief amount of time that he has been the general manager, I like what I deem as honesty from Chris Getz. It's a lot of subterfuge back in the day with Kenny and Rick. It looks like a little bit more honest assessment of his team, and that answer he gave for the Moncada kind of is what most White Sox fans are, resigned to the fact that he's going to be on this team. Now, he's like, if he had his druthers, he wouldn't have Yohan Moncada on this team, not because of him being a bad guy or anything like that. It's because of the inconsistency. He doesn't play well sometimes, and then he's hurt often. So he's like, yeah, we're stuck with this sumbitch. We're paying him a bunch of money, so I hope he plays well. But yeah, I think that Chris is just, got a crappy hand dealt to him. He accepted that crappy hand, but he's just trying to make this hand just a little less crappy. Their team still sucks. It's a terrible amount of people put together for a baseball team in this terrible division. But I think their floor is raised slightly up. They were one of the worst teams in a lot of positions. Catcher, they were the worst team. The right field, they're one of the worst teams. Relief pitchers are one of the worst teams. So they have a lot of growth. Shortstop, one of the worst teams. They have a lot of growth that they can make. And they think that having run prevention being the key to that, and that's what Chris Getz has been doing this whole offseason with his defensive first approach, can at least help there where you're not giving up extra runs like they did all last year. I don't know if they were the top team in earned runs given up or unearned runs given up, but they were up there in that category. So they're just improving that defense just slightly so you see a better brand of baseball, but you're going to see 90-plus losses on this team. That's 100% guaranteed. I think the way that you guarantee that Pedro Fold doesn't come back, lose another 100 games this year. Because this team, I think, should be better than last year's team just by the people on the team. You're going to get at least a 0 performance out of Paul DeJong instead of the -2, whatever Tim provided last year. You're going to get the same or above that. What, you got 1.8 last year from Nicky Lopez and his stints in Kansas City and Atlanta. So you're going to get positive play there instead of the negative. Well, they got some positive play out of Elvis Andrus, but I think a little bit more of a solid defender there at second base because he's played it more likely than Elvis Andrus, who did a decent job last year. So I like what Chris Getz says. His press conferences, while not as exciting as Rick Hahn's, I think he's a little bit more honest with himself and honest with us as the consumers out here.
He doesn't annoy me like the other guy. And maybe the other guy annoyed me because we were listening to him for so long.
He lying to himself and us.
But I don't know if I'm really coming away from this one for 32 minutes with a lot to know about the 2024 Chicago White Sox.
Your crochet stuff, though.
But no, I don't think he has an actual plan. So at least first, he said a lot of it is, they have to prove it to themselves. And I don't know how viable that actually is because, again, this is all guaranteed money. If Yohan Moncada only gets, 50 hits this year, it's not like he's not going to get the $25 million, right? If they're, 25 games under 500, what are these guys' motivations? Like at what point does playing for the next contract run out? Because we saw it run out when this team was in contention. When this team was going 81-81, it ran out, right? I mean, these guys had all of the reasons in the world to play for pride the past couple of years. I don't know. I mean, when you're 25, 26, isn't that the time where you kind of want to go prove yourself? So I don't really know on how true that is that, these guys have to go, prove themselves. Like, what adjustments are you making? I get being stuck with Benintendi. You didn't sign that contract. With Moncada, you didn't sign that contract. With Jimenez, you didn't sign that contract. I can't be mad at him. He said he wanted to go improve the defense. It's a lot of if with DeJong and Lopez hitting-wise, but again, like you said, we know that they're going to be good hitters. But when you have to go out and put your kind of style and flair on right field. It wasn't true. We know who our right fielder is. We're excited for our right fielder. It seems like he wanted to give it to Fletcher, but then he said, I kind of want to be fair to the other guys like Pilar and like Sheets. But again, if they play to their capabilities, it doesn't seem like you truly went down and nailed that position down. What is the plan? Hopefully it's Dominic Fletcher plays well. But what if he doesn't? Is it Gavin Sheets? Because I think our chat would probably be in that next level.
Absolutely not. You let Dominic Fletcher burn as much as he can. If he's not ready, then you go to the next youngster, which is Zach DeLoach. You should not see a start, not one start from Gavin Sheets in right field. Not one.
You definitely will.
I know you will.
Getz said they know the adjustments. I think, especially for a former player, it would be nice to hear more about the adjustments. And hey, maybe he can't really speak on the pitching adjustments, and maybe we need to hear from Brian Bannister, but we didn't get a ton on what those hitting adjustments are. You are a guy that understands hitting, how to talk about hitting. You got a general manager job. You played baseball for 12 years at a professional level. I would like to hear more from Chris Getz on what this is actually, what these guys are working on, right? We like the work that they're having. We like the off seasons that we're having. We like that they're healthy. But what are they truly working on? What does this team need to do from going from 29th in weighted runs created plus to actually being, maybe middle of the pack if you are going to be relying on pitching and defense? Getz is, different from the other guy, and I would like for him to show why he's different than that other guy. That other guy did not play. Getz has, and I didn't think that he really kind of put that flair on it. But you brought up Crochet. Again, I don't know if he can speak on what Crochet needs to change, but I didn't really believe when he said, we have Garrett's health fully in mind. He said, Crochet's stretching out, and he's excited to see how that plays out, and that he's prepping all offseason to be a starter, and that he'll be deployed in 1 inning, and then they'll see how that goes, and then maybe he'll be deployed in 2 innings, and then maybe he'll be deployed in 3 innings. I don't like that he hemmed and hawed and ended by saying, anticipate him being in the Major League club in 2024. He doesn't want to close on what's best for Garrett Crochet, which could be starting in the minor leagues. But if Garrett Crochet is going to be a starter, and you admit that Garrett Crochet doesn't have a lot of starter innings in his career,
correct,
why aren't you taking that opportunity to fully say, Garrett, if this is what you think you need, if this is how you think you can succeed, go to a place where there's no pressure. Go prove that you can be a starter, because that's that's a ton of trust in Garrett Crochet to go be a major league starter after 1 spring training. And then 2, this is a former first round pick. It seems kind of lackadaisical. This is a guy that has a ton of potential, can still help you, is still young. And if you do have the right plan and protect his health, maybe we should be starting him at maybe a more chewable, digestible plan. Saying if he has a good spring training and a good, month, he's going to be a major league starter. Woof.
It's going to be tough, because the whole thing is you're supposed to dress and act like the job that you want. How are you going to do the job that you want by bite size in the major leagues? How are you going to do that? I would say go down to either double or triple A, whichever they see fit, whichever league they see is a better chance for development for Garrett Crochet as the starter. And just let him go. And he's answering these questions as if he is not the person in charge of baseball operations for Garrett Crochet. Just say, if we feel as the White Sox that Garrett Crochet serves us better at the major league level, Garrett Crochet will be at the major league level in the role that we determine that he'll be in. But if we're doing charity now and we're saying, hey, we want Garrett Crochet to be happy and want him to do what he wants to do this year, be in the minors and make sure that you are developing that talent down in the minors for next year. As you said before, he's already resigned to the fact that 2024 is a rebuilding year. He hasn't said the words. We all know, though. So why it would be Garrett Crochet being on the major league level with all the options that they have at starting pitcher already, right. Why would you have him start a game and just pitch 2 innings in the major league level? Why? Like an opener, just to stretch him out? Stretch him out down in the minor leagues. You can have and do whatever you need to do down there and have control of the player and have a little bit more instruction. At the end of the day, minor leagues are for development, not for wins and losses. I guarantee these players on this team, while they know that they're not a great team, they don't want experiments on their team. They want to win games. And yes, Garrett Crochet gives them a better chance to win in the long run. But if he's not ready to start, some players are like 2 innings of Garrett Crochet, and then you dive and you go to your bullpen, you're killing us, and we're losing the game. So what are we doing? We're babysitting him for his development. It's about the team, not just about him.
Well, I push back on that just a little bit, because then, when we hear starter, then maybe they can say he's a starter, but he's actually an opener. I mean, maybe this is just an opener idea, and that maybe doesn't have that same grimace from the bullpen, because Jimmy Lambert's a multiple inning guy, Davey Garcia's a multiple inning guy, Tukey, who likely will be on the bullpen's a multiple inning guy, Drohan's a multiple inning guy. So I think they have the guys that could at least eat that type of assignment. But again, is it the best for the player? I feel like we didn't hear a true plan, right? I feel like, Chris Getz kind of could have presented the White Sox plan for Garrett Crochet. Maybe there needs to be more assessment done by Brian Bannister, but it wasn't I feel like the best from Chris Getz. And then also Kopech too. The goal is for him to be a starter. I love to hear that. He is healthy and he's on the right timeline health-wise. We love to hear that. But there was no true adjustment on he's trying to do this, right? Like, we obviously, love his fastball, but we want to see this, and Brian Bannister has been talking about this. It's just more, we like what we're seeing. Not a lot of well, yeah, right. No, but I just like to hear more about, their thoughts on Michael Kopech. And I feel like we didn't get a lot of depth on the thoughts of these players, or what he thinks, Chris Getz thinks of these players. It was pretty surface-ish.
And maybe our Vinny Duber, who is down there or traveling down to Arizona today, will get in front of Brian Bannister, put a mic in front of him, and we can get some more concrete answers, or at least something where they're planning on doing with these starting pitchers. Because I know that you're a big proponent of what he's doing, and I haven't seen it yet, so I'm in a wait-and-see type of mode, but I'm interested to see what he's going to be doing with this pitching staff, because it's different. It's innovative. I like different for the White Sox, since they operate on such a low budget and operate this way. Do experiments, do things that are different than what you've been doing for the last 20 years.
That's it on Chris Getz, unless you have to add anything else. We'll take a break here, and then we'll get into our Mailbag Monday and give some Yasmani Grandal thoughts. We got a bull show coming up at 6:05, so I know we got to get out of here. But let's let the people know about ComEd. Herb.
It is getting easier for businesses to switch to electric vehicles. That's something we can all get behind, for the health of the planet, for the well-being of all of us who share of it.
The electric grid is evolving to meet your cleaner energy needs as we move with confidence towards an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to read. Can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
So what should business owners do?
They should go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you own a business, do not wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles, because it's good for businesses, it's good for the planet, and it's good for all of us. Go to ComEd.com/clean.
Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
You bet it. Go now and see how electric. Can you say that again?
Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
You bet I did. Go now and see how electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come. I need Vinny Duber to do that read, because I cannot read it.
The CHGO events. I don't know if you guys recall, last week the CHGO Bulls fam took over the United Center with some of our diehards, some of the people who bought tickets to that takeover. It was versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that epic comeback where Kobe White led the comeback, and they won in overtime. That is what the CHGO events are about. If you've been with us at the CHGO White Sox, we've done takeovers, we've done tailgates, we've done watch-alongs. Last year, opening day, one of the best days, probably the best day of the 2023 season, was our opening day broadcast out south. Where was it called again, Sean?
The Whistle.
The Whistle. Oh, my Jesus. Just a perfect place. And you see on the screen right there, that's the takeover right there with our guy Salim in the front, his fiance, all the CHGO Bulls people. And so if you want to be part of that, we've had great takeovers this year. We just have one coming up on February 25th. But unfortunately for yourself, You're too late if you don't have a ticket already, as the CHGO Blackhawks takeover on the 25th for Chris Chelios' jersey retirement has been sold out. If you don't want to be in the position you are in currently without a ticket and no chance to go to that CHGO takeover for the Blackhawks, don't miss your next chance to have a great time with our growing community. Become a diehard today, and you'll be the first to know when our next event will be. Diehards will also receive a t-shirt like the one I have on right now of their choice, 20% off merch in the future, and an invitation to our CHGO Discount Lounge, which we call the CHGO Discord Lounge, which is a great atmosphere. Melissa's Sage Bowling Box in there. I think Matthew Cortese's in there. Our guy Alex Rude's usually in there. Have some conversation with us, the White Sox people, Bulls, Bears, Hawks, everything. Cubs are even in there if you want to talk some Cubs. And 20% off of things like our takeover events. So go there now to allchgo.com and sign up and become a CHGO diehard. If you want to hang with us for a Sox game this season, don't have FOMO, what some people have told me after that Bulls game. Oh, man, I wish I could have been there. Don't worry about that. Become a diehard today at allchgo.com, and you'll be one of the first to know. And, of course, 20% off that diehard discount.
Yes, and we've had over 52 people join us already in the month of February, so don't miss out. Head over to allchgo.com. We had Aaron, Tom, Steve, Kendrick, and Jeremy join us over the weekend. Your guy.
Yeah.
Jeremy Warner,
yeah.
So
we're out here.
We're out here. ILL.
I.
There you go. All right. And speaking of diehards, we do have a Mailbag Monday segment. Let's go as rapid fire as possible.
Okay.
Real quick, we did say, I think it was Brandon who was in the chat, is Yasmani Dahl going to sign somewhere? We were like, no, he won't. There's no way. He's old and bad, and he's probably thinking about retirement. And you were like, well, he's been working out. He signs with the Pirates. Interested to see how that folds out. Maybe we have more thoughts tomorrow. But I definitely wasn't expecting him to sign. And here he is signing.
Hey, good luck to him. Good luck to the Pirates. I hope he does well out there.
Yeah, I mean, hey, same. I agree. Let's go to the Mailbag Monday. First up, Callahan. I think it's Callahan, like Tommy Callahan. If you could make any 3 moves right now with the intentions of making the playoffs this year, feels impossible, especially after listening to that Chris Getz presser. What would they be? I think it's very clear, Herb.
Yep.
You sign Cody Bellinger, you sign Blake Snell, and you sign who I guess Tim for my thoughts, because I think you need more of a top end ceiling than Paul DeYoung when it comes to up the middle. Yeah. So I would say those 3. Would you add Jordan Montgomery maybe?
Yeah, those
Matt Chapman.
I mean, those lefties, they're at the top of the league, and also break up some of this rightiness in the White Sox rotation right now.
We need help is basically just the entire 2024 White Sox. So as many people who are talented as possible. Next up, Shulo says, as players report to camp, who are you most excited to follow during spring training? Herb, give me one player.
Zach DeLoach.
Really?
Yeah. I'm just looking forward to him. I mean, he had a great year in the PCL. I'm just looking forward to him, what he can do in spring training. I know more than likely he won't be on the major league team, but I'm looking forward to a lefty power bat finally actually being an outfielder.
There's 40 White Sox on the 40-man roster, and he's not one of them.
I'm looking forward to him.
Okay. I'll go with Michael Kopech. We heard Chris Getz hype up him being a starter. He is very good when he locates his fastball up in the zone. He did that like 21% of the time last year. There's an article on Fangraphs, but he really did not effectively locate his breaking pitches lower in the zone. Can he make that adjustment? Can he be a starter? The fastball is elite. This fastball is a starter-like quality. He's thrown over 120 innings in a season before. I think he's got the base. He's got the full healthy offseason. Let's see what he can do this spring training. Ian up next, who has the potential to be a quality starter besides Dylan? He said like sub 4. Obviously, my answer is I think Michael Kopech. Eric Fetty is an interesting signing, but he might be, just mid. He's only signed for $8 million. There's not a ton of hope and potential with him. Michael Kopech is a former top prospect. We've seen it, and he seems to be healthy, and I don't think the effectiveness on his fastball is gone, so I still think it's Kopech.
I think Fetty is like making the most money as a starter, I believe, almost $8 million.
I think Kopech Cease makes more. I think by $500K. I think Cease makes 8 and then Fetty makes 7.5.
So yeah, I would think Fetty. That's the guy that needs to step up this year. He's getting paid a lot of money in this White Sox rotation, so he needs to be the second best starter. on this rotation.
Soroka would be an interesting one. Justin brings it up. But a final one from AJ. It's Baseball Kid. Sorry we had to rush through these, but which pop star would you most like to see date a White Sox player a la Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce? I know you've had hours and hours to think about this question, so I know you're going to give me a great answer. Herb.
Well, since they share the same type of musical taste, I would love to see the Hips Don't Lie Shakira and our guy Yohan Moncada get together.
There you go.
And do some great singing,
and
some reggaeton.
Maybe his $25 million can help her with her tax situation.
Exactly.
There
some
you go.
bachata.
Yeah, right there. I mean, too bad J-Lo has got a man in Ben Affleck. You know, they could have got up together. I'm going to go with Larsa Pippen. I don't know who, but she just left Marcus Jordan. Maybe she goes to Jeffrey Jordan. I think she tries to still get in the public eye though, and why not? She was good on traders.
Yeah, going after people that were kids when she was an adult.
Very weird. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got a live show coming up right now with the CHGO Bulls. I was going to say Chicago Bulls. The CHGO Bulls with Matt Peck, Big Dave, and Will Gottlieb. So we're going to go away. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at EctorWall23. You can follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. And Vinny was not here today, but he'll be here tomorrow live from Arizona. So make sure you subscribe and join us at 5 p.m. tomorrow. We love you and goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.